Hello and welcome to Chess Book Reviews 142. I've been asked to say a few words about the recent issues of Chess magazine that comes out of London. You'll recognise this immediately. King Gawain on the cover, looking dominant. It says he'd finished first at the London Chess Classic to cap a fantastic 2024. And I'm sure that's true. There's a chess quiz. There's a bodyguard knight, Jose Villela, on an important defensive mechanism. And Jonathan Manley's enjoyed reading Gideon Stahlberg, and so have I, because I got lent it. So there you are. Haven't heard from Gideon. Jonathan Manley for ages. Used to do Kingpin, didn't he? Anyway, there's some adverts for various books, which I always like to show. New in Chess books. One on Capablanca there. So there you are. I've put contact details hereabouts. So if you want to subscribe, and I hope that you do. The current rate is, for 1 year, it's £50 in the UK, and it goes up to 90 and then 125. If you get a 3-year subscription, then it's more in Europe, and it's even more in the rest of the world, and they'll send it to you air mail, which I'm sure is very neat and tidy. Here's Malcolm Payne talking about what's current and what's interesting him. And I hope that it will interest you too, and it probably will. Otherwise, why read it? He's talking about the Market's London Chess Classic. And here's Mr. Jones. And it says he's delighted. That's what he is. He's not holding an old milk bottle. That is, in fact, the trophy. This is a little joke. So there we are. Junior Tay, an author I have encountered before. Good chap, I would think. Talking about the World Championship, and those are the contestants. And more about Gawain. Playing tricky Mickey Adams in the first round. And as I always like to say, there's the cross table. Lift it up there in orange. See that? I think you did. Simon Williams looking as primeval. The cream rises to the top. Simon spends a lot of time online, doesn't he? Broadcasting. He certainly cheers us all up, I think. Here's Mr. Golding. Looking pale and studious. Danny King saying, "How good is your chess?" An interview with Gawain. Marura Jones. That's his late wife's name, wasn't it? He's merged them. There's a little tribute. A nice tribute, I like to think. Very respectful. So there we are. Books on the back. Deliberately. Books on the back. Some book reviews probably by Sean Marsh. John Saunders, the deputy. Talking about way back when, normally. Certainly a good page. Let's crack on with some other issues. I've got 4 or 5 here. I think you'll find this is the world champion. Gukesh becomes youngest ever undisputed world chess champion. Younger even than Karpov, obviously younger than Fischer, and younger than Tao. Is Carlsen getting married? No. The second picture down, see it? No. And Malcolm says, chess hit the headlines again in December during the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships staged on Wall Street in New York. And Magnus Carlsen was fined 200 euros and then defaulted for dress code violation. They didn't like his jeans. I would be nervous they didn't like his attitude as well, but they certainly caused a stir. A bit of a shame if you ask me, but there we are. He went on to do all right, didn't he? There's more stuff from Junior Tay and Dramatic Tosslers. In fact, the World Championship. And the first game is my beloved French defence. So that's interesting. Here's all the games. Playing Ding Liren. Possibly one of the most nervous players ever to contest a World Championship in my lifetime. An interview with David Howell. With Ivanka. And there are the two contestants, the Chinese bloke with his hand in his mouth. He did score badly, but I felt he did badly, if you see what I mean. I felt that he was possibly relieved when the match was over. Interview with Ivanka Huska. With David Howell has been giving some commentaries on the games, hasn't she, online? And at the World Championship in Singapore. I played through a few of the games. I thought they were comprehensible. I think that's the word. I mean, I did understand what was going on, I think. Here's Jones again, Jonesy, talking about his game from the London Classic, and there's Mickey Adams' game. He's done similarly. Here's Mr. Shrias Royal, who is one of our new bright young men. There he is, underneath my finger. There he is. He's a Grandmaster, is he now? So. John Henderson, Scots, I'm told to say. Journalist, knew him a little when we were kids, not now, but I did know him. Ben Graff. 60 seconds with Chris Bird. I don't know. He's from Arizona. Forgive me, I don't know him, but that's all the more reason to look at the interview, isn't it? The end of it, you could say, well, I know a little bit. IA. So he's a controller, is he, amongst other things? Possibly out amongst quite a bit. Daniel King, with the world champion. How good is your chess? Well, mine is non-existent. The Christmas quiz. I was used to have the Christmas quiz many, many years ago, set by Hugh Courtney. Here's Paul Littlewood, looking at a game not of his own. Little tests here. If you can get through all of these, maybe write solutions down on a little notebook or something. Scorebook. Compare it with the answers which they give at the back of the magazine. Good way to limber up for your latest tournament. Particularly if you get the answers right. If you get the answers wrong, it's not quite such a good way to do. Never mind the Grandmaster, says Carl Portman. I met Carl once. And there he is with a cowboy hat on. I'll skip to the end because I want to get as many in as I can. Here we are. Mr. Prague. He's not the world champion, but his colleague to the world champion. There's Carlson again with a sponsor. Looking hot. I was going to say hot and bothered, but he's not hot and bothered, he's hot and rich. And triumphant, I'm sure. I don't know about you, but I don't like random baseline. There's a picture of Hubner, the West German Grandmaster, the German Grandmaster, I should say now. And there's Robert Hubner in the red. And my friend Stuart, whom I miss enormously there. And they're also talking about International Master Adam Hunt, who died also. Adam was a school teacher. He was an international master, but he was also a school teacher, and he'd been branching out away from just teaching chess exclusively, his mother told me. And coverage of Tata Steel. Mickey Adamson with Neil Dickinson. And once again, the problems. Here's Gary Lane playing against Spassky. I remember this game at the time. With notes by Paul Littlewood. It's interesting because his late father, John, also did junior chess, in chess, and is following his dad's footsteps to an extent anyway, not entirely. Neil Hickman talking about Gordon Crown, who died about 80 years ago as a young man, a very strong player. Died in 1947, so I wasn't far out, was I? 80 years ago. And anyway, nearly 80 years ago. He beat Kotov. No. More tributes to Adam Hunt, and so there should be. I saw him a couple of times giving commentaries at the British Championship, and I didn't realise, such as my shortcoming, how unwell he was. Tribute to Stuart Rubin. Stuart Conquest talking about Hastings. And there's Sir Patrick Moore with David Bronstein. Sorry, I'm hopeless at this. Bronstein in the spectacles. Patrick Moore, the TV astronomer, and Stuart Rubin, the little guy with a Tikva on. My friend Julian Way talking about Cecil de Vere, calling him the first British champion. There you are. There's a line drawing of him, Cecil de Vere. And Julian gives 3 games. That's rather good. And a photo. Can't argue with that, can you really? the Devans, Slaughters and Simpsons. Some rather well-known print at the time. And the blue plaque. And an artist's impression of, well, I dare say, gales and gales of cigar smoke. Some overseas news. And a great deal more besides. Mr. Levy. Not David Levy, his first name is Levy. And his trip to England, I think he's been before, because that was the popularity he enjoyed. Game again. Another Grandmaster who died recently, Fredrik Olafsson from Iceland, former FIDE president, former world title candidate, and of course, Grandmaster. Here's a picture of Levy in colour, smiling. If you want a good laugh, but also to learn some good chess, you look on YouTube and you'll find him. Matthew Wadsworth. Again, I think he's a Grandmaster now. If he isn't, he's on the verge of it. It may say, actually. He will become England's next Grandmaster. A man who has, as with Matthew Sadler, enormous application, depth of calculation, clearly, depth of concentration. Even humble club players and people below that level, as I was, just sit down, quietly analyze your game while you're playing it. And when it's not your move, don't think you can get up and fart about. Sit down quietly and try and form a plan. Much, much harder than it sounds, but that is the way that top players think. If you don't believe me, don't take my word for it. You ask Matthew Wadsworth. Here's Daniel King saying, how good is your chess? There we are. "60 Seconds with Roger Williamson." George Boswell playing Nigel Short. I remember when that photograph was taken. I think at the Cunard Hotel. Could be wrong, but I think it is. I think it was. So there we are. Through the Looking Glass. Alice in Wonderland, of course. Here's Levy again. Gotham chess is what he styles himself. Gotham as in Batman. And finally, a picture of the Chancellor of the Exchequer in this picture. The lady on the right. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to me, but also like and subscribe to Chess Magazine, which is available from Baker Street. And I put the contact details in, and you can also Google it and contact them and mention the Chess Parrot sent you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.